Awesome. And then let me shoot Gina and Elizabeth a quick little message and see if we can get them on board. And we can go ahead and start. And Linda or Maggie, would you like to begin?
I would be delighted to.
Great.
Well, for sure, everyone should go to Tapas. Just right off the bat, there's that. So I was fortunate enough to be there for all 4 weeks. And it is also not for the faint of heart. It is quite rigorous. And I was super happy that my 65-year-old body with 2 joint replacements could do it. And, through the grace of God, for sure. And it is set up so beautifully. Oh my gosh. And the care and attention to every detail, and so many blessings from Pritaji and Krishnaji. I mean, I completely get the importance of having a spiritual master, those spiritual masters that can carry that state and give it to us and share it with us. And the state is equanimity. The Sanskrit, I'll probably murder the pronunciation, but it's sit pragnaya. And it's a state of unperturbed calm. And I'm there. I mean, I have that as my baseline. And for sure, life happens and perturbances pop up, but they don't linger. I don't ruminate on them. They come and they go, and that's that. And it's hard to know, when you're in this beautiful bubble of the campuses and Ekam and the sacred forest and the places we went, how so obvious there, and how will that translate when you get home is a different story, because you really don't know, or at least I don't know until I get there. And I can say I had an interesting experience, like right freaking when my plane landed in Seattle. I'm on the licensing, or I'm in Idaho, and I'm on the state licensing board for acupuncture. And we had a really critical meeting, and I had contacted them in December and said, I'm going to be gone. Contacted them, all this stuff. Well, they missed all that. And because we're short a couple board members, without me, they didn't have a quorum for this meeting. So my plane touched down, the meeting started. My friend Margaret Joy loaned me some earbuds. I plugged them into my phone. I'm literally going through the customs line with airport noise and announcements and kids screaming and, the whole 9 yards. I'm in a totally perfect state of unperturbed calm, completely focused on the meeting. I literally get to the customs desk and I'm like, okay, you guys, I kind of have to hang up for this part. I'll call you back in 15 minutes. I do the customs thing. The guy's like, you were in India for a month and you didn't buy anything? I'm like, yeah, I was at a retreat. Like, okay, well, welcome home. I'm through. Do all the luggage stuff that has to happen. Get through that, plug back into the phone. I'm on the call for another hour. I haven't had food or water or potty break. And again, I was totally focused. Everything I said was pertinent and important, and we got the job done. It was remarkable. I mean, it was such a testament to that state, because not to mention, we had just traveled for, by then, I don't know, 28 hours or something. So, not like the sharpest tool in the kit by that time anyway, but it worked. And I got off that call and I'm like, holy moly's, what just happened? So that was, that was like a real world experience. Back here I am back in this world. And as far as being in India, oh my gosh, so many profound and magical and mystical experiences and enlightened experiences. And that part, I mean, it's lovely to have that, absolutely. And I also got the importance that those are just moments in time, those are just little blips. But the really important focus is nurturing the state of equanimity and unperturbed calm. I mean, it's super fun to go, oh, wow, blah, blah, that was amazing. But the focus is this unperturbed calm to continue to grow and nurture. And literally, for me, one of the big insights was how hardwired our brains are for perturbance, basically. I mean, we are so hardwired for these states of duality and craving and ego and mind. And these were the 4 liberations that we got in India. And so much of the practices were just being still, really still, calm, 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 still, body still. And for me, I could see the importance of that, to literally rewire that hard, that hard rewiring that we come in with. Oh my gosh, it's generational. It's all of humanity. I mean, we've been in these states for probably since at least the Industrial Revolution, maybe before. So it's a lot. And that's a lot of, redoing that needs to happen. But for me, I sometimes think of the brain like a record, like those grooves just get worn in. That neural wiring just gets, and it feels like those grooves are filling in and new neural pathways are forming that are so much more clear and functional and hooked in to divine creative intelligence, universal intelligence, again, whatever label you want to stick on that. And it's, so I'm in the present. I can plan for the future. Great. May or may not happen. Great. I don't really reminisce or ruminate about the past much. If I need information that comes from there, it arises. So it's absolutely remarkable and incredibly beautiful. And I'm beyond grateful, to have had the opportunity to go to India. And I'm super grateful I kind of got to do it all in one chunk, because it certainly deepened over the 4 weeks I was there. The first few days, of course, there's jet lag and time change. And I think just the stress from the last couple of years with COVID, I didn't realize how much that was on my system. And so slowing down to let that peel off is certainly, I felt like I did a huge detox that first week, which was awesome. And part of it was just that physical stress from the year we've had, or the couple of years that I've had anyways. So I'm happy to answer any questions or.
Yeah, let's do questions at the end after we each
Okay.
share. That'd probably be great.
All right.
Maggie, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Really,
and,
really
and
well articulated.
The power of Ekam and the power of Krishnaji and Pritaji and just the kindness and thoroughness of all the dasas. It's just beautiful. Okay, bless you guys. Love you.
Linda.
Well, thank you, Maggie. That was a revisit of so much. And yeah, it really helped me to sort of tap into all the gifts, or at least a good part. I said this when I was in India, that the whole, I was there for the 4 weeks as well. And the whole thing felt like surgery, felt like literally like there was a whole brain change surgery going on. And the whole month or more leading up to my going felt like the pre-op. That it was literally, I mean, so many times I sat there going, oh, when that happened, wow, it prepared me for this. Oh, when that happened, it prepared me for that. And so, and a lot of it was, the life that we've been living, and realizing the life we've been living since COVID, and how, 2 years is a long time to literally, the brain sort of had changed into this sort of kind of protective, fearing others, sort of disconnection. And in a very short period of time, that all just started melting, like it literally felt like a thaw. And as far as the surgery there, the best I can say is I literally felt physical. Like pretty much every day had tremendous energy and feeling in my third eye and in this whole frontal lobe. And I kept, my go-to is, oh, I need a couple of Bayer aspirin. And so I would literally go there every day, like, I need to take some aspirin. And something would say, oh, this isn't really a headache. This is something happening neurologically that I just need to sit with. And it wasn't all that uncomfortable, but my headaches tend to go into migraines. And so, that's probably why I initially, would go there. And yeah, I mean, it was a brain change. There's just no question about it, which, as Maggie was saying, these grooves go so deep. And it was so nice for you, Maggie, to remind me of that, because it's not like the grooves are gone. The grooves are still there. I've been sort of shocked, because being in India, it felt like, oh my God, it was all wiped clean. And it was, and yet there's still the grooves. So, coming back has been really interesting for me. I haven't really shared a lot. I'm about to do a couple of Ekam cities today and share more about it. So I feel like a lot of it for me has been sitting alone. That in and of itself has been kind of a bit of shocking to my system feel, because I was with 65 or more people every day, day in and day out, a roommate, day in and day out, and to come home with nobody here. And a lot of my friends don't want to be around me because they want me to quarantine. And so it's been a bit shocking. And the outer world hasn't stopped. I got here, I have no vehicle. The one vehicle I have had a flat tire, completely dead battery. Work has been full on, no assistant. She doesn't want to be around me because she wants me to quarantine. So it's been challenging. I mean, it's not like the challenges stop. And they said this is exactly what was going to be, that it's not like the world changed, not yet. I mean, we're all in the process, but we've changed. And so, like Maggie was just sharing, it's the response that's different. And for me, because there's still grooves, the initial response is very much the same. And if I get caught or snared in that, in any kind of longevity, it can feel like, wow, nothing's changed. But what has changed is it passes so quickly. So there's no real I like to see it as like an airplane with vapor trails. There's no real vapor trail. The plane still goes by. And sometimes it's slower than I'd like. I'd like it to be like that and gone. Sometimes it kind of slowly goes by, but it keeps moving. And before I know it, it's gone and there's nothing left of it. And what else? I guess for me, one of the more profound things about tapas is the detail of it. I mean, I literally felt like there was not one thing missed. And every moment of it, there'd be, okay, now we're going to do this. And it'd be like, oh my gosh, they're just not missing a thing. And from past lives to, dealing with our vasanas and, stuff that we've been carrying, that my ancestors have carried, that came to me at birth, and seeing how so much of what I am, and I say that in terms of not the real me, but the me of what I carry in this body is really, it's nothing about me per se. It was just literally handed to me in my DNA. And I learned a lot from that. And also looking at my twin sisters who are identical and seeing that what they both carry is so different, and that yet they came from the same embryo. They were in the womb together. It just was such a great sort of way to see that so much of what we carry it has nothing to do with this lifetime, with how we were raised, how I was, ignored, didn't get enough of this, didn't get it, which is what so much of my life is focused on, right? And so many of us in therapy and just in the world as it is. I mean, that's as far as we can go in most of what we get, but not in tapas. I mean, it literally felt like there was a jackhammer kind of getting all the concrete, all the crust off so that you could go really deep into what the root of suffering is. And so much of life is just learning how to manage suffering. This was how to literally uproot the core of suffering. And it brought so much hope that I'd been waiting for. It literally felt like for lifetimes. The state of stitopregnia that Maggie was, and I'm probably saying it wrong too, but that Maggie was talking about, this unperturbed peace. We have a sadhana, of course, that I've been doing since I got on the plane. And I will say that as soon as I shut my eyes and go into that sadhana, I'm right back in the temple. I literally can smell it. I can feel it. It's in me. It's not here. It's in every cell of my body. And by the time I'm done with the sadhana, I'm completely in stitopregnia again. So it's a state that I feel like was deeply rooted in each one of us. And that, yeah, like Maggie was talking about, I mean, it's our part is the sadhana, and it's more than just sitting down and meditating, but it really, I really see the importance of sadhana. When we do our part, grace comes in and it just completely floods the whole system. And we're right back into that beautiful state of stitopregnia. It gets perturbed. There's no question. I mean, again, I wish, again, this is always my struggle, right? Like, I'm supposed to come back and be a completely, like, there's no struggle. No, there is struggle. I'm not gonna lie. And yet, like I said, it's so quick. There's nothing lingering about it. And so, this, what was sort of hammered, if you will, into us is that suffering, any form, whether it's teeny, tiny, medium, or absolutely enormous, any suffering is a complete waste of time. And I just see that so clearly. So even when I become perturbed, it just, that realization comes in so quickly, like this is a complete waste of time. And the sooner I can get back to that citta-pragnia, which again comes through grace and also comes through my sadhana, the better for all. I think that's about all I have to share. I just enormous gratitude. I wish it for all of us. I really do. I feel like yeah, it was super challenging, but at the same time, Maggie with 2 hip or joint replacements, one of our participants turned 75 while there. There were a lot of people that it was physically challenging for, including myself, but we all did it. And it was all by and through grace. And there was really no super big challenges with it. It just, so nobody should be thinking they can't do it physically. It will happen if you've got any sort of pull or draw to go. It's just an amazing journey. And I can feel already that it's a journey that just keeps happening, keeps growing. So thank you. And yeah, just really grateful to be able to share with you guys. Thought of you guys every single day. Thank you.
Thanks, sister. I'll pop in. Thank you, Maggie and Linda, for going first. As most of you know, I had the kind of pre-tapas happen before I left as well, because I got COVID and couldn't go. And I left my suitcase by the door packed for 2 weeks almost. And then I joined our family there. And it was there was a distinct difference between those that arrived at the 3rd week for 3 and 4 than those that had been there 2 weeks before us. And I could tell that they were operating at a very different state than we were when we arrived. And yet their state became a field that I got to flow into. So that was really beautiful. At the end of my 4th week, I did not want to come home. I wanted to start week 1 and 2. I really didn't want to come home. I'm like, isn't there something I can start now? So I'm just saying that because if anyone has the opportunity, please go for all 4 weeks at a time. I saw the advantageousness of that. I feel like most of the time I can be really honest and say that I operate in the natural world like a hummingbird. I'm not a sloth. I operate at a very high intensity of energy and flow and things getting done. And I don't know, how I've done this, but I have for a long time. And I have a new operating system completely. It's not a hummingbird, though I feel like I'm getting at least as much done. It's the operating system is very, very different because the foundation is that state of equanimity. It's really foundational and it feels very embedded. And like Linda and Maggie said, I experienced the physical cellular change happening. I felt the brain change happening every day that I was there. I would wake up and feel it. I got thoroughly rearranged. And I often have big burning bushes. I have the mystical experiences. I have, somebody has to walk me out because I'm in a state. I didn't really have that, and I'm really grateful. What I experienced happened very quietly. It happened on a very deep level. It happened in the marrow of my consciousness. And I felt it. And I felt it easing in deeper and embedding itself more every single day, every process. And one of the dasas was checking in with me last night, and I said, I feel like this new operating system is this deep, slow moving, flowing river. And it's that state. And yeah, I didn't come home to a few days off. I came home to a lot of work to do and a lot of focus and catch up. And I also came home to an empty house like Linda at the ashram. Like I was like, where's my peeps? You know, meeting in the hallway for hugs or sitting at tables just looking at each other as we ate. I definitely missed that. I definitely had a lot of an adjustment to go through coming home. And that state is such a profound resource. It's just there. It's there. It's there. It's there. And as challenges arise, I am meeting them from an automatic, totally different place. There's no, like, I'm a pretty excitable hummingbird, you know, and it's like this beautiful even keel. I feel like all my cells are smiling, my heart is smiling, all the parts of my brain are smiling, and it's coming out in a very quiet way, very, very different way. And I echo what my sisters said, the precision, the laser precision of every single thing we did, the menu, the formula, it's perfection. It's really perfection. And the part that I found the most challenging wasn't sitting for hours. God bless my joints. God bless this body. I like thanked it every day. It was the intense concentration. And hummingbirds don't have to concentrate on any one thing for a very long time. So for me, the most challenging aspect was the intense concentration, awareness, presence, staying with it, watching the mind try to pull me away, flip me this way and that way, and coming back so disciplined to what I was meant to be aware of, or focusing on, whether it was the rising or setting of the sun or whichever mind obstruction we were working on that week. It didn't matter. That was it. And it became easier and easier every single day as that state became the bedrock, the new foundation of this person called Leah. I had a couple of really cool revelations there. Like, you know, most of my life, I have been focused on trying to help humanity stop suffering in a number of ways since I was quite young, even in high school. And I was on the top floor of the temple and this thing came, how can you possibly help anyone end their suffering when you are in a suffering state? You have to be enlightened to help anyone. And literally it was so ridiculously, you know, absurd to think that I could have helped. And so I am so dedicated. I'm very clear. And I feel kind of fearless in a really like from my heart sort of way, like I have this new courage. And I feel like that's a new part as well that's been embedded. You know, when we listen to the teachings, it's really beautiful. There's no notebooks. And I am a very avid note taker, like verbatim, because as a child, I really struggled with comprehension, and I didn't barely write a note. I didn't have a notebook in a classroom the way they asked us. And what came in as consciousness. It didn't come in as words and information and wisdom. It literally came in as consciousness. And some of the stuff that I can say, like I don't remember hearing it, but it's there. It's inside of me. So I know I didn't miss one thing. And in one of the groves that we sat in and heard a beautiful teaching from Anandagiri, one of our teachers, one of the greatest pieces that I came home with in my own personal commitment to this path, through all of its processes until I take my last breath is to harm no thing, not my own self, not another, not any life form. And I feel that is really different than my goals of the past. And it really isn't about the states that I go into. It's about my responsibility to harm no thing and to be on this journey together in a very collective way. And you guys, it is happening. It works. It's working. It's true. We can trust them. My other two words are truth and trust. So I am here for anyone who's ready for their next step, whatever that might be. I'm 1,000% in and immensely grateful, immensely grateful. And I've already booked my flight to go back to do week 1 and 2 in June. So if any of you want to come with me, please. Yeah, let's do it, Marian. So thank you so much. And Paula and Linda, it's so beautiful to see you. Like, I really miss our family. It's really beautiful to have you. Mwah. Next.
Good morning, family. Sorry, Maggie, we missed you. We had 8 o'clock as it's starting. So, and Linda and Leah, thank you both for your amazing sharing. And it feels like we're right there. Here's our ashram. Here's all the people. It's been an incredible journey coming home. As you all know, we've been winter camping since we got here, and the beautiful burning fire of tapas within has truly been keeping us warm. It's a miracle that I personally in this body have been able to stay here. My circulation doesn't run it runs pretty thick. So to be in a physical state of this and to be in that peaceful, calm place with, honestly, there's been no suffering. I could be running around like I normally would have, cold, freezing, I'm too cold. I can't, I can't relax because I'm too cold, and a whole story around that. And it's not been here at all. It's just what is. We need a new furnace. We need, it's just been one foot in front of the other and intelligence flowing without that constriction of the mind. When I first went to India, my first journey, enlightenment was all it was. It was all they talked about. And it was a very, very silent 21 days. And I remember being there, I was on a path. I grew up Catholic, and our mother took us deep into nature. Nature was my God. I went to church and would be like, okay, I love the ritual at church, and I didn't really understand where God was for me, but we'd go to nature at least one Sunday a month. We'd go to the woods as a family, and that's where I found God, and always have had God. And so when I went to India that first time, all people, when they were talking about enlightenment, including the faculty. I'm like, what's enlightenment? And we know what they're talking about, honestly. And after that time there and having such profound experiences and states of enlightenment, there I was, a seeker, born a seeker. And they were sharing at Tapas how, that's how this originated. It was Sri Rama Bhagwan's vision to enlighten humanity. And now Sri Pritaji, Sri Krishnaji are taking that vision and continuing with this and humanity's awakening. And they had said one day during the tapas how they kind of had gone off course, if you will, like talking about health, helping people with health, helping people with worldly problems, and how tapas is only for enlightenment. If you go up to them and ask them a question about your husband or your wife or your partner or your children or your work or your finances, they won't even look at you. They won't answer you. They won't talk to you. It's solely, completely about enlightenment. And it was such a breath of fresh air and like a, we're there, like we're totally there. This is what I've been waiting for so many lives. The intensity of the tapas is what I've been waiting for a very long time. Because I personally, I'm like, I don't want to mess around. Like, this is no joke. Humanity is suffering greatly. And we don't have time to play. You know, we don't have time to talk about it. Not in this way, but just to not go into it, not to actually go into our consciousness, into our depth of our being, and do what we can. So it was incredible to be in that field of vision again in such a deep, deep way. And, you know, nobody's enlightened. There's no enlightenment. It's not like we're sitting here and we're saying we're enlightened. No, that's not what we are. Nobody's enlightened, and everybody's suffering until they're enlightened. That was like such a beautiful piece. You know, we can move into these little beautiful states and these transcendental states and enlightened states, which are incredible and which what keep me going forward on this path. But until we're living an enlightened life, we're not. And it was another really great way to stop the deception of my mind, telling me maybe otherwise when I am suffering, that I'm not suffering. And I so appreciated it. And Leah, I think several of Leah and Linda talking about the focus and the concentration that you're in while in tapas. You know, as soon as Jim and I came home, it was like, wow, just being home, watching the mind kick up. It's like, it's like the engines are all starting to fire. And when you're in tapas, you don't have to worry about cooking, cleaning, you know, work, socializing, nothing. Nothing is there but your inner world. Nothing is there but your inner world. And it's like, you think you can do this. Even when you do this, they're showing you the screen of your inner world right in front of you. I mean, it's like full on, no escaping of what's happening inside. And you're not alone. Here you are, you're with 65 people and everybody's in their suffering. Everybody's seeing their suffering. And it's not me. It's not, oh my gosh, poor me. What about me? Why me? It's this vision of humanity. It's this vision of the collective and where compassion is born, you know. When I started to see how this suffering isn't just inside of me, oh my gosh, compassion was, I cried so many tears for our youth, not just my son, not just for Alina, not just for my nieces and nephews, but for all of our youth in compassion. Like, oh my gosh, you know, what Leah and Linda shared about your vasanas, literally it's a handover. It's like, okay, here, whatever wasn't cleared in my life, here's your truckload of suffering. And once again, made me all the more passionate about the work. It was like, my gosh, you know, we have to continue on this awakening, this enlightenment of humanity. And so if passion could have been stoked any more inside of me, it happened. And that's kind of a miracle because I'm pretty passionate about it already. And I stay in that space today of that fire burning inside, and that fire burning for me to continue to look at my own suffering when that knock on the door comes, for me to actually open the door and look at it, not be distracted with life, not be distracted with positive thinking in my head. And gosh, you know, what Leah said about enlightenment states, you know, that's where the journey went from the time that I first started going there, was running so fast after those enlightened states to get out of my suffering. I was like, get me the heck out of this body into those amazing states. And then I don't have to sit in this body and be in my suffering. So it was like, okay, let's go, let's do some more, let's get in some more states, let's blah, 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 blah. And it was just amazing how they were like, no, there's no escaping here. There's no, literally, like Leah said, I went into one amazing enlightened state at the very, very last day, basically. And before that, it was literally just kisses of the states on my cheeks, on my heart. But it would not make me unfunctional or out of my body at all. It was like so present and integrated into the body, into the consciousness. So the escape is gone for me. I'm not looking for these enlightened states to get out of my suffering. I'm facing suffering head on. I'm like, come on, bring it on, you know. And with so much grace and so much wisdom and so much foundation to be able to look at it. It's not just, you know, from this place of I'm not doing anything about it. I can't do anything about it. That was the other beautiful realization, was the systems that they're using there. Sadhana is essential. It's a must. And to be very serious about the sadhana is important. And so, you know, that's what I did, Jim did. We were extremely serious about what they asked of us. We would do everything they asked of us to the best that we could. And then listening to the wisdom. I mean, they have you in this focus, this intense focus, where, like Leah said, there's no note taking, so there's no remembering in my brain of what they just said. Literally, while I'm watching a video, it's a programming. It's being downloaded into the consciousness, embedded into the consciousness. And I could tell you the teachings today because they're embedded. I have no memory of what they are, but it's in the being. It was incredible. I've never experienced anything quite like that. And so that's the other piece, was the wisdom. And so I would do these things, have the focus, the wisdom, the sadhana, and I'd get to the edge of the cliff and I'd come to this place of total gratitude and surrender. Gratitude to be able to be at the edge of the cliff, and then surrender because I couldn't do anything more. It was like, okay, I've done my part. Like this is all I can do. And then the grace would just flood in, and oh my gosh, it's all a combination. It's not one or the other. It's all an effort, all together an effort to create any shift. So, and then seeing, it was beautiful. It was really fun. My, you know, third eye got opened more and more, and to be able to see what's happening, not in this world, was really, really fun. And seeing this kind of deprogramming of our suffering, not just me, it was everybody there, getting that rotor rooter cleaned out, wiped out, the programming getting taken down. It's so much like these machines. It was like, wow, we're like a machine. And creating that space, just like when we upload our phone, it wipes it out and then you download the new program. And that's totally what it was like. It was like our boards would get wiped out. There was one of the dikshas that we had where literally my whole body slumped like this, and it felt like a switch went ping and everything shut down, and then it turned on and it was like, and I saw all this violet light at the top of my head. And it was literally like this new programming coming in of enlightenment. And, you know, like everyone already has shared here, suffering is knocking at the door. It comes in for coffee every now and again. But this witness is watching, and it's not me. It's definitely not me, because then I'm not seeing it at all. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, profound gift to have that witness watching. And in the watching, the suffering's like, oh, okay, I'm seen, gotta go. So thank you for the opportunity to share. And the Ekam City, wherever you are, if you're able to, it's a really, really beautiful, profound gift that we all can experience these enlightened states, and that fertile soil, that ground that we've all been working on this path. We're all tilling our soil, and those enlightened states do plant the seeds. So enjoy the Stipta Pregnia. And we're here to any support or anything you need to continue on the journey, whatever that is. It does not mean that everyone has to go to tapas. It's not that at all, because as you know, when anyone here goes, especially because we're so connected as this family, everyone's impacted. And so when one goes, 30 of us are impacted. All of us, humanity's impacted. So thank you. Thank you for beautiful listening and the time to share.
So thank you. I guess I'll go. I guess Pat and Kitty, I'll answer you had a question around a couple staying together, and I'll use that as my dive in. Elizabeth and I, when the first day we talked about it, and hearing the requirements for Mauna, for being silent, and then no intimacy, we thought, wow, maybe we should stay in separate dorms, just to less distraction, more focus. And we talked to one of the guides, and they said, if you guys are serious about it, we know. And, as long as you do stay in Mauna, and we're like, yeah, I think it was the second maybe day in or something, kind of when orientation was waning, it was like a day of orientation and a lot of info. And so that's when we consulted, and the Dasa was like, no, you're good. If you can stay in Mauna, no problem. And we were pretty strict on the Mauna, which is essential. I mean, there was times that I did speak where, in retrospect, I can see the Mauna is silence. It's like, you don't talk. No chatting, no visiting. It's an inward journey, and it's like going into a cave alone. It's really what it is. It's an inner journey, and you don't talk. You sit down and have dinner either by yourself or with a group at a table, and it's silent. You're walking from class to class, you're sitting in class. The only time you talk is during sharing and answering time. Sharing is a really important part of the collective. Like, there's a period where we share our experiences, and in those sharings, it's the collective becomes so much more palpable. You really do become one consciousness, and the sadhanas that we did, some of the mantras, some of the meditations, it becomes so much more powerful. You're in your own cave, but you're in a collective cave as well. And I would say if I wanted to even go deeper, I would room separately than being together. But it was interesting because, you know, Elizabeth and I really didn't know what was happening for each other 99% of the time. Like after a 7-day break at the end of 1 week, we'd have an hour to chat. And most of it, it wasn't like the switch went on, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't a puke down, you know, it was, this came up for me, and we'd share a little bit. And then it was kind of like, I didn't really want to talk still. I never wanted to get on my phone. You know, there's no phone. I had no idea what day it was. I had no idea what time it was unless the Dosses said, okay, lunch is at 2:30. I'm like, that means nothing to me because I have no idea what time it is now. You know, it's like, okay, well, when you hear the gong, come to lunch. And so time really did come to a stop. Like there was no time. So on a, you know, on a practical level, I would suggest, for me personally, you know, if we go back, we haven't even talked about it, but I might choose to do it separate. The inward journey, like I think, you know, Linda mentioned something that what really made it a huge impression on me was how little control we have with our life. When we're in, you know, we're born, we're raised by our parents, and, you know, I create this whole story. I have a really beautiful and ugly book about Jim, you know. And one of the most profound things for me was how that story that I created and I've been living my life from for 58 years is a myth. And it's a bit hard to take when, you know, the realization was so profound and beautiful that I couldn't stop crying, because it allowed me to see, oh my God, I really am the one. There's no one else who can take the suffering away than myself. Like there's no blame. We are, you know, as a humanity collective, we're all in this big, huge stew pot of suffering. And we do the things that we do because we're not completely in suffering, but the programs, I mean, there's good programs and there's not so good programs and terrible programs. And but what I came most in depth was this incredible inner compassion for myself, and therefore outward. Like it was like the creation. It's really hard to put words to. And like right now I'm just thinking about it. I haven't written about it, so I haven't really cognized how to express it, but that depth of the inner compassion is what I'm seeing going out, and how I'm hearing others, you know, or even Elizabeth, when something happens and there's like a little ruffle, you know, it's like, oh, I'm irritated. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, wow, I see her suffering, you know. It's like I feel that suffering inside, and then I see her suffering, and there's no lingering. Like something happened last night. I fell asleep The house was cold, the lights were on, Elizabeth went to bed, and I woke up, I felt like a baby, like left in the crib. I was like, and it's what my daughter would do, like, you left me alone, you know? And I felt this abandonment for like 3 minutes. I went upstairs and I was like, I was watching it all happen. And I said, like, I'm automatically, okay, what is this? Oh, I feel abandoned. And it happens, you know, it's part of the ego self, you know, we just so much laser focus on what's going on inside. It's like, oh, boom, there it is. What's this feeling in my heart? And I just shared it with her, and Elizabeth apologized. She was like practically asleep, and she apologized. And then I was watching it still, and there was no like story, nothing. It was like, it's done. It was so, and that's been happening. I mean, I just see it happening over and over and over. Like, there's no lingering story. There's no, yeah, but, you know, another really, this journey is all about knowing yourself, the self, and what's been kind of I want to say the fallout, but it's not the right word, but is like this deep compassion and this deep love for myself. So where in the past I've been so self-programmed to like kick out stuff I don't want to see. There's no reason to. I mean, there's actually reason not to. I see that so clearly now. It's like, oh my gosh, whatever the ripple is, whether it's a beautiful ripple of joy or a you know, painful ripple of abandonment. It's like, I'm not letting anything go by. It's almost like I can't. There's and I don't want to. I've lived for so many years with this, like Linda said, you know, it's whether it's a speck of dust of suffering or, you know, a gargantuan house size pity or whatever. It's like none of it is, I don't want any of it. And that concentration, the sadhana, the laser focus of awareness, which, you know, I'm not like, it's not like the suffering doesn't come, because it does, and it lingers. You know, I was like thinking about it last night. They use this analogy of, you know, you're suffering. They come in for a cup of coffee, you know, and hopefully not stay for dinner, and definitely not move into your spare bedroom. And I was thinking about in that real time, okay, real time, a cup of coffee is about 10 minutes. And having a dinner is what, maybe an hour or two. And so I'm like, wow, literally that's what they were talking about. That I started thinking about the length of time is like, wow, most of my suffering has been them wanting to hang up their coat to have a cup of coffee. And I see it beforehand, and they're like, it's like a revolving door. Oh, there it goes. Oh, there it goes. Oh, they're in. Nope, they're out. And just that, and it's because of the awareness that it's all about awareness. Everything is, so, you know, I can really relate to Leah, that probably the most challenging for me is that concentration. Like I'm focusing, and I'm like, whoa, I've been gone for 10 minutes out somewhere. I don't even remember now, or starts with just a minuscule thought that fractals into something bigger, and then all of a sudden it's a story. So really powerful to be able to observe those incremental thoughts that develop into something. And my dedication has blossomed, and it's turning into a jungle. You know, it's not a little sprout garden anymore. It feels like it's my dedication to my path to enlightenment and to humanities. It's like I was sharing with Elizabeth, like yesterday, we live in a ski town. We both have ski passes. We haven't been home, so we haven't been up yet, but I don't even think about this passion I had like 2 years ago. I'm like, skiing or snowboarding, I'm thinking, how can anyone that's in town 30 minutes away not be up here on a beautiful Saturday? It's like, what are they thinking? And I haven't even thought about putting boots and skis on. Like I just feel so much passion about what can I do to help us end our suffering. And it starts inside. It's everyone's journey, like every person on the planet's journey of ending their suffering. And the development of my relationship with my inner divine has changed dramatically because of where I saw where I sit down with my divine in that place of suffering. And my whole perception of the divine has changed a lot. And it's continuing to just keep evolving in a broader kind of undescribable thing, which I'm incredibly grateful for. And courage is like courage to talk about what's happening, or invite people to Siddhi. I mean, I'm more of a one-on-one person. And although I've been happy, I was a musician I play music, and I'm happy to like get on a stage and play music and be in front of people. But I don't know, there's this newfound courage of coming from compassion is really what I think it's showing me. I'm feeling. So that's a little bit of my share. I would say, like, on a physical level, I went with a cortisone shot in my lower back, my lower vertebrae, because I have bulging disc and sciatic pain. My right leg is numb and painful, and I sat through the Tapas nights. My biggest issue was my ankles hurt because of my bony shins, like, or my foot fell asleep, and my back was never part of the story at all. It wasn't, it was there definitely. And the walks were really great. Beautiful walks into nature, and profound things happening for me, insights and realizations on those walks, because you're with 60 people, but you're really alone still. So on that physical, practical level, I would say it's really easy for the mind to create impossibility or a scary thing, like, wow, how can I do that? But the mind slows way down, and I stopped thinking about, like, uh-oh, what if? There was very few what ifs. It was really great. And that's what that keeps continuing. Like the revolving door of the past and the future, it's definitely there, but it's so short-lived. Like there's no time. They hang up their coat ready to have a cup of coffee and they're like grabbing their coat again because they're going back out the door. It's so beautiful, really powerful. So the present, which enables me to be really present with someone when they're talking, talking on the phone. I'm not distracted looking at my phone, talking or looking at whatever. It's so much more presence. And I would say if you could stay 4 weeks, to stay the 4 weeks. I was like Leah, after 4 weeks, I was like, can I stay another month? Seriously. I mean, you get in such a deep, slow, concentrated place on the focus of wow, there's a whole world in here that I had no idea. I mean, I had ideas, but I want to keep excavating. It's like, man, sharpen up my jackhammer and let me keep going. It's so I encourage anyone, everyone, and like Elizabeth said, we're here if you have any questions, concerns, anytime. Happy to share. Thank you.
I'd just like to add on the tail end of Jim that to be there with our other sister and like the 3 of the siblings were there. And then to be there with Elizabeth and Linda, who are our family as well. It was extraordinary, you guys, being there with family. Extraordinary, the family healing and power, and just could not have been more sweet in that way.
It's funny because we don't even know our journeys yet. Elizabeth and I are still like opening up slowly, like, oh, and this happened. And Leah and I and Noreen
And Linda.
and Linda, like I've heard little tiny snippets like me, so I'm really excited to hear. It feels really, really different.
Yeah.
Just looking at my sisters, like watching especially my older sister, watching her turn into a baby.
Yeah. She didn't look the same at all. Physical transformation.
The softest, most beautiful I've ever seen her.
Ever.
So,
Yeah.
and she's gone. She's far away in Italy. We're lucky to have her.
Mm. Mm. So I don't know at this point, it's 10 o'clock in the mountain zone. If you guys need to get to work, if you have questions, I know we have Paula and Linda here too. And I'm going to kind of leave it up to the group to decide where you would like to go from here. We can certainly do this again and again and again.
Yeah.
We can save questions for another time. We can do whatever you guys want.
I personally have to go. I'm doing 2 Ekam cities and I have to literally get on the road. So, but thank you all. And this is just an amazing family that I'm just so grateful to be a part of. So.
Yeah, truly, we're so blessed to have each other, you guys. We are so blessed.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your share. It's very inspiring. I feel like crying now. It's very touching. Thank you. Set
Thank
us
you,
in the right
Bea.
path.
I would like to
So I have to go.
Well, good.
See you tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Amy, we could totally do that. Amy's saying, what about more shares on Wednesdays? We could totally do that. Great idea.
I just wanted to say one thing real quick, because you guys talked about the collective,
Yeah.
and all this time while you guys were in the Tapas, I was journaling or writing. And I'm so moved because a lot of the connection, the energy that was, I really must have felt it have been there, because all the stuff that I was writing was a lot of what you have just shared. And it's just so profound because I never, when you talk about the collective, and then what each one of you talked about, how you want to connect to humankind. So it's been an incredible journey for me too. Thank you for making that connection and sending that energy back here to the States. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We didn't actually have to do anything, Jim. The collective is a happening. We are just totally one. That's the truth. That's the field that we create, you guys, every day together. And we've done it for a long time. Yeah. It's really extraordinary.
What became really apparent and clear to me while I was there was the Ontarianum inside in the Sontarianum, Servant, say
Sarvanterianum.
Savantarianum on them, how they are one, and that's what we're experiencing. It's how I connect to the divine and you connect to the divine, then it connects us. I mean, like Leah said, there's no effort. It's a happening because it's all one. And it's so beautiful, Jim. Thank you. It brings tears to my eyes just feeling and you're sharing that, and really powerful. Thank you.
Next time we share, I'd love to share a story specific to that happened at Tapas. It was so specific, you just couldn't deny it. So I'd love to share that next time.
So I would say, family, stay soaked in this grace. Just let it absorb and carry you through your day. Let questions come later. And we'll continue this forever. And